Okay, so let's dive in. We're looking at an article you shared from The Universe Unveiled, Bridge of Incidence and the Law of Attraction, How Manifestation Really Works. It digs into Neville Goddard's teachings.
That's the one. It introduces this idea, the bridge of incidents, describes it as, well, kind of like the universe orchestrating things behind the scenes to bring your desires into reality through pathways you don't consciously see.
Right. And what we want to do here for you listening is really unpack what this source means by the bridge, how it claims it works for manifestation, and why getting your head around it might actually be, well, life-changing, as the article puts it. We're sticking strictly to this piece.
Exactly. And what grabbed me immediately was the opening hook, asking you to think back on those times when things seemed totally random, maybe inconvenient even.
Uh,
But looking back now, you realize, wow, those were perfect steps leading right to something you wanted.
yeah, that image the article paints, you're walking on this bridge, but you can't actually see it at the time. The genius of its construction only hits you later, in retrospect. That's powerful, isn't it?
It really is. It sets you up to think about manifestation not as this, forced step-by-step plan, but something more organic, maybe a bit mysterious while it's happening.
So we'll cover how the article defines this bridge, how it's different from our usual conscious planning. It's linked to the subconscious and this quantum field the article talks about.
And also the pitfalls, right? Things
Mhm.
the source warns can trip you up, plus those real-life stories it uses to make the point.
Definitely. It's an exploration, like you said, of something that sounds a bit mystical, maybe, but is presented here as a really practical thing for manifesting.
So let's step onto it. How does the article actually define this bridge of incidents? What's the core idea?
Fundamentally, the article says it's the sequence of events, people you meet, chances that pop up, experiences you have,
Yeah.
all unfolding to connect your inner feeling, that state of already having what you want.
Right, the assumption.
Yeah, the
There.
assumption to the actual physical result out here in the world. It's the whole chain of cause and effect, but seen, I guess, from a different angle.
Exactly, the pathway from inner feeling to outer fact. And the source emphasizes, drawing on Neville, that the moment you truly nail that assumption, living from the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
your subconscious mind starts impressing this new reality onto what the article calls the universal field. And then apparently, life just starts rearranging itself in ways your conscious mind could never, ever predict.
And that's the bridge. Those, like, normal seeming events or sometimes weirdly synchronistic things that just ferry you from A to B, from don't have it to have it.
That's precisely it. The article mentions that while Neville himself didn't, coin the term bridge of incidents or dedicate a whole lecture to it, this idea of the inevitable path unfolding was central to his work. His students apparently picked up the phrase later.
Okay, so the core is this path, this sequence. And the article is clear. We don't build it consciously. No planning involved on our end.
That's a huge point they make. The bridge gets built by your subconscious mind working with this quantum field. It's a direct response, the article says, to your sustained inner feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Sustained, okay.
Yeah, and it really stresses you are not responsible for engineering the steps. Don't worry about the how. Your job, basically, is just to stay in that feeling state and, well, walk the path when it appears. Trust it.
And often, you only appreciate the perfect design afterwards, looking back.
Right, that perfect orchestration, how it all fit together, usually only clear in hindsight.
This is where it gets interesting because the article really contrasts this bridge with what it calls linear planning.
Yeah, this is key. Linear planning, the article says, comes from the conscious mind. And the conscious mind, it's limited. It only sees a tiny slice of reality of the possible connections.
Uh-huh.
But the bridge, that comes from this universal field, which the source describes as seeing and connecting everything. It arranges stuff, people, events in ways our conscious minds just couldn't map out. Not on a spreadsheet, anyway.
So if you're on this bridge, it could mean, like, totally unexpected people show up and play a key part.
Exactly. Or situations that look like roadblocks actually turn out to be crucial detours. Or you get this gut feeling, right? An urge to call someone, go somewhere.
An intuitive nudge.
Yes. And that leads to a chance meeting that's actually a perfectly timed piece of your bridge. Or obstacles you were worried about just melt away. The article calls it the magic of the bridge.
Okay, so for someone listening, someone trying to manifest something specific, what does knowing this do for them? How does the article say it helps?
Well, the article frames it as potentially life-changing for manifestors. And the main reason, it tackles the biggest hurdle most people face, trying to figure out and force the how.
Yeah, getting bogged down in the mechanics, the step-by-step.
Precisely. The bridge concept, according to this source, just frees you from that completely.
Right.
Once you live in the end state, you're essentially handing the how over to your subconscious in this universal field. And the article claims they can pull it off way better, more elegantly than you ever could consciously.
Okay, so that takes a huge weight off, right?
Right.
Less stress, less pressure for the listener.
It absolutely does. The article points out a few benefits. First, by ditching the need to figure out the how, your only job is maintaining that inner state. The steps just appear.
And I guess as you start seeing these surprising but perfect little events unfold, it builds your confidence in the whole thing.
Totally. The article really emphasizes this. Witnessing these weird synchronicities, the perfect timing, it deepens your faith, not just in the process, but in, the field itself. You start to really know, as the article says, that life is working for you. And the more bridges you experience, the stronger that knowing gets.
The source also mentioned becoming more attuned to inspired nudges. What's that about?
Yeah, so instead of forcing action based on logic, you start picking up on subtle inner cues, like a sudden thought to call an old friend, or a feeling you should go to some event you weren't planning on, or maybe a creative idea pops into your head. The article presents these as vital steps on your bridge. They guide you, even if you don't logically get why right then.
And what about roadblocks? The article specifically says apparent obstacles can be part of it.
This is a big one the article highlights. It can be tough but critical. Sometimes things that look like delays, detours, even negative events are actually necessary parts of the bridge.
Unnecessary. How so?
Well, they might be putting you in the right place or maybe positioning other people involved so the final result unfolds in the best way possible.
So the article talks about the immature manifester getting thrown off by this stuff
Right.
versus the mature manifester who kind of gets it and trusts
Yeah.
the process.
Exactly. Understanding that the bridge is always under construction, even when things look messy on the surface, helps you cultivate patience. Surrender, even. It lets you stay centered, trusting, even with no proof yet. Moving forward with what the article calls calm expectancy, not panic. It's presented as like a higher level spiritual practice.
So the opposite of walking the bridge then would be trying to muscle things through, forcing it.
Yes, the article draws a strong line there. The bridge emerges, it flows naturally from your alignment, forcing actions or specific outcomes. That usually comes from fear, the article says, from feeling lack. And it actually blocks the natural flow, interferes with the bridge being built.
And if you fall into that trap,
Yeah.
constantly trying to control every little step,
The source says you basically introduce resistance. You're signaling doubt or lack to your subconscious. And you might even, shut down possibilities the universe was already lining up for you. The advice is clear. Stay solid in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Be open to those nudges when they come. And trust implicitly that the bridge is forming. Each step appearing right when needed.
Okay, let's touch on the mechanism as the article lays it out.
Mhm.
How do the subconscious and this quantum field actually work together to build this bridge?
Well, the article suggests it's pretty fascinating. When you really impress your desired reality living from the feeling of it onto your subconscious, you're tapping into a power way beyond your normal awareness.
Right, the subconscious gets the memo. This is the reality now. Then what?
Then, the article says, the subconscious sends out this vibrational blueprint, this state of being, to the quantum field, which the article describes as the basic energy matrix behind everything physical.
And this field just responds.
Yeah. According to the source, the field responds by literally shifting circumstances. It guides the right people to you, opens the necessary doors, closes off paths that don't fit anymore. The article is really clear. You cannot map this out consciously. The subconscious and the field work together in this incredibly complex way, weaving the perfect bridge just for you.
That really hammers home why trying to plan it all consciously is kind of pointless, even counterproductive. The article also lists some other mistakes people make.
It does. Besides forcing or micromanaging, a big one is giving in to doubt, panicking when things seem slow or during those apparent delays.
Because delays aren't necessarily bad news.
Correct. The article specifically flags misinterpreting delays or setbacks as failures. That's a common error. Because, like we said, those moments might be crucial pieces being put into place on the bridge. It takes trust.
And ignoring those intuitive nudges, that's another pitfall.
Definitely. Brushing off those quiet inner prompts, those feelings or signs, you might miss a key turn or connection on your bridge.
So if you're not supposed to force the building, how does the article say you can like support the process, help it along.
The source gives a few ways, yeah. All centered on keeping that inner state solid. It talks about deep, daily embodiment, really living, feeling, being in your desired state every single day, because that's what really fuels the subconscious impression.
Guarding your thoughts too.
Key practice mentioned, the mental diet. Actively keeping your mind off contradictory thoughts, fears that fight your desired state, keeping your inner world clean, aligned.
Gratitude came up as well, like an accelerator.
Yeah, feeling genuine gratitude now as if it's already done, already real. That's presented as a powerful way to boost the bridge building.
And using specific techniques.
Right, the article mentions things like focused visualization, maybe using mantras or heart coherence practices, ways to deepen that feeling, strengthen your alignment, which in turn supports the bridge.
The article also shares some really good real-life examples. Helps make it less abstract for you listening.
They really do. Neville himself told stories like this, right? Unexpected moves, career changes that seemed weird at the time but were perfect steps toward a bigger goal. Like losing a job that felt awful but led directly to the chance that launched his speaking career. Couldn't have planned that.
And the founder of The Universe Unveiled, Hector Jesus Arancibia, he shares one about Gwyneth Paltrow.
He does. He'd visualized dedicating his book to her. The article explains how this totally unexpected last-minute chance came up to go to an event where she'd be. But interestingly, his first reaction was strong resistance. Like, nah, that's impractical. Almost didn't go.
Wow.
But this inner voice, that strong intuitive nudge, just kept saying, go. This is part of your bridge.
And he listened, even though it felt off initially.
He did, flew to the event, and describes this series of synchronicities, things that just defied logic, ultimately leading to the meeting he had imagined. It's a great example of how something that feels like resistance or hassle might actually be a vital part of the design, a breakthrough waiting if you just follow that nudge.
That really highlights following the call, that step on the bridge, even when it doesn't make logical sense or feels hard.
Exactly. It hits that apparent obstacle point perfectly, and the article suggests that you, listening right now, have probably walked countless bridges already without knowing it. It encourages you to look back, at past manifestations or big life changes and see the sequence through this lens.
So, The Universe Unveiled, in this article, presents the bridge of incidents as more than just a theory. It's like a sacred path, almost inevitable.
Yeah, the article frames walking it as this act of profound trust in unseen forces, moving through life as the person who already has the desire, and just surrendering to how life orchestrates it with wisdom and patience. It's not chaos, not random. It's shown as this precise dance between your subconscious, your inner state, and the universe, every step perfectly placed.
It really sounds like it boils down to trusting that invisible structure.
That is absolutely the core message.
So, just to recap for everyone listening, the bridge of incidents, as this article describes it, is that unseen path unfolding between your deep inner feeling, the wish fulfilled, and the actual physical result out there.
And the absolute key, the thing the source really wants you to get, is that your conscious mind doesn't need to figure out the how. In fact, it can't. Your only job is to keep that inner state of having it and completely trust that the bridge is being built. Step by inevitable step, by your subconscious and the universal field.
The article's closing line is pretty much the perfect instruction for you. Assume the end, trust the bridge, follow the call.
Yeah, it boils the whole thing down beautifully. 3 actions, all centered on that inner state directing the outer world.
And understanding this leads to that really profound final thought the article leaves you with, the idea that someday you'll look back, not confused, but just in awe at how flawlessly life carried you through this unseen bridge right to what your heart desired.